Con questo scorcio straordinario.
With this fantastic backdrop of the Roman Forum, it's a wonderful, historic day today for our club, for Roma, and for the city of Rome. What a wonderful backdrop here in the Campidoglio then, which will welcome this presentation of the Roma Stadium. It's a historic day, the 26th of March 2014. You will see just how great Roma's new stadium will be. We're all ready for it. We're already in the Stadio della Roma, where we will unveil the new stadium and we will see all the details of the new stadium which will welcome Roma. We are already inside here. You can see some pictures where Matteo Vespasiani is live, and he will tell us already what the situation is like. President James Pallotta is already there at the top table, as will be the architect Dan Mace, who will also tell us all about the technical details of this stadium, and CEO Italo Zanzi is also alongside. Let's go straight to Matteo Vespasiani. Matteo, everyone is ready. It's a very exciting moment. We've got the plastic alongside you that everyone wants to see. Thank you, Alessandro. Good morning, Giallorossi fans. This is without a doubt a historic day in Roma's history. History behind you in terms of the city of Rome, and history here in terms of something which will be absolutely historic for Roma. Falcao has just arrived alongside Bruno Conti. Here he is, right here. Paolo Roberto Falcao has just come today. Has just arrived, and this shows just how important and how historic this day will be here. President James Pallotta is here as well. We're now going to see the Roma Stadium unveiled in two of the most historic and most famous players of Roma club history, Bruno Conti and Paolo Roberto Falcao. They are alongside President James Pallotta. Perfect timing as ever. So it's a very special occasion. Let's see if we can just have a quick word with them. You will have some very important guests as well in the studios, and this is a moment, obviously, that we want to experience alongside our season ticket holders and alongside all of those who are registered on Roma channel and who are watching us live. I'd like to say hello to everyone who is watching from Trigoria and everyone who works behind the scenes on a daily basis to make sure that all of this can actually go ahead according to plan. And we want to share the whole day alongside all of these people. Falcao and Bruno Conti have just gone past, so they're going to take their seats. We are here, Alessandro. We've been here right since early this morning. We've already seen a great deal, and now we want to tell the story of today. Without a doubt, some fantastic pictures. Really special day, Matteo, which has already began yesterday with the Hall of Fame presentation and obviously the last gasp winner from Alessandro Florenzi. This is such an important day, not only for AS Roma, but also for the city of Rome. We will speak a great deal about this live. I'll remind you that the press conference begins at 11 o'clock. We will hear from our president, from Dan Mace, the architect. We're all very excited to hear about the new stadium. We'll also hear the opinions of everyone who will speak in this fantastic day. You spoke to me about Paolo Roberto Falcao. I've got the forum behind me. And he was... it's very fitting, I think, that Paolo Roberto Falcao is here. You did very well then to recall all the people that work behind the scenes at Trigoria on a daily basis, because all eyes are on us today. And CEO Italo Zanzi actually thanked the entire team a few minutes ago. It really is a team effort. It can't be done by individuals, but it has to be done by a whole team effort. So I'd like to thank everyone that is working behind the scene at Trigoria. We'll go there in a moment, but let's do things one at a time. There is an important history in terms of this club. As I said, behind me there's a great deal of history. Let's begin by actually seeing the four famous stadium of Roma with this next feature, and then we will come back live because we're very close to beginning.
Sono stati gli stadi ufficiali che hanno ospitato la AS Roma nei suoi gloriosi anni, ognuno con la sua storia, le sue vittorie da raccontare e le leggende da tramandare. Nella seconda metà degli anni '20, visto lo strapotere calcistico delle squadre del nord Italia, nella capitale, dove erano sorte all'inizio del Novecento diverse squadre, si arrivò alla decisione di unire le forze per creare un club che potesse reggere l'urto con le formazioni più forti. L'Alba Audace, il Roman e la Fortitudo Pro Roma si fusero confluendo sotto un'unica bandiera, sotto gli stessi colori. Il 7 giugno 1927 sorse la leggenda capitolina. La AS Roma divenne realtà. Per testare le abilità della neonata Roma fu organizzata un'amichevole contro gli ungheresi dell'Ucipest. I Maggiari furono così i primi avversari della storia dei giallorossi e la gara ebbe luogo al motovelodromo Appio, che da quel momento e fino al 1929 fu la prima casa della AS Roma. Nella stagione 29-30 nasce il campionato a girone unico. Per la prima volta le migliori squadre italiane si ritrovano tutte una contro l'altra. La Roma affronta questa ulteriore e stimolante avventura inaugurando il suo nuovo stadio, Campo Testaccio. Campo Testaccio entrerà di diritto nella storia della società giallorossa, divenendo un'icona del tifo romanista. Lo stadio, sorto in uno dei luoghi più caratteristici e simbolici della capitale, fu progettato prendendo spunto dagli impianti di football britannici. La vittoria più importante nello stadio di Campo Testaccio è senza dubbio Roma-Juventus 5-0. Un successo fragoroso e talmente altisonante che ispirò un film dal titolo, appunto, 5-0. Dal 1940, come la Lazio, anche la Roma cominciò ad utilizzare lo stadio nazionale, che dopo la sua demolizione nel 1957 sarà ricostruito e denominato Stadio Flaminio. Lo stadio nazionale era considerato all'epoca uno degli impianti sportivi più moderni e avveniristici d'Europa. In questo stadio la Roma conquisterà il suo primo scudetto. Era il campionato 41-42 e la stella della formazione capitolina era l'Hall of Famer Amedeo Amadei. Al termine della Seconda Guerra Mondiale lo stadio cambierà nome e diventerà Stadio Nazionale e più tardi sarà conosciuto anche come Stadio Torino, in onore della grande squadra granata scomparsa nel tragico incidente di Superga. Alla fine della stagione 52-53, primo anno di ritorno in Serie A, la Roma si trasferì in un nuovo impianto, uno stadio fantascientifico per quegli anni, l'Olimpico, noto all'epoca ancora come lo Stadio dei 100.000, nome derivato dall'abnorme capienza dell'impianto. Nel 53-54 la Roma è pronta ad affrontare la sua prima stagione nello Stadio dei 100.000. La società decise che per guidare la squadra in un grande stadio c'era bisogno di una grande stella. E così fu. Nella capitale giunse uno dei giocatori più forti del dopoguerra, il campione del mondo, Alcides Ghigia. Nel 1960 lo stadio fu la sede della cerimonia di apertura, chiusura e delle competizioni di atletica leggera dei 17esimi Giochi Olimpici estivi. Chiusa l'Olimpiade, l'impianto prese il nome di Stadio Olimpico e la sua capienza fu abbassata sotto gli 80.000 posti, rimanendo tale fino al 1987. In questi 27 anni la Roma collezionò all'Olimpico moltissime vittorie indimenticabili e alzò al cielo diversi trofei. I più importanti, senza dubbio, la Coppa delle Fiere del 61 e lo Scudetto del 1983. In vista dei mondiali di calcio di Italia 90, lo stadio subì una profonda ristrutturazione che cambiò radicalmente le due curve e la tribuna Montemario, dotando inoltre l'impianto di una copertura totale. A causa dei lavori di ammodernamento dell'Olimpico, la Roma giocò le ultime 2 giornate del campionato 88-89 e l'intero campionato 89-90 al Flaminio. Nell'Olimpico post Italia 90, il momento più bello vissuto dal popolo giallorosso è senza dubbio la conquista del terzo scudetto. 17 giugno 2001. La Roma supera il Parma 3-1 e si fregia meritatamente dello scudetto in un'annata dominata dall'inizio alla fine. Nel 2007 lo Stadio Olimpico riceve l'ultimo restyling, prima di ospitare la finale di Champions League del 2009. La struttura viene adeguata alle nuove norme FIFA e il restyling è più all'interno che all'esterno dello stadio. I ritocchi apportati valgono all'Olimpico la categoria 4 Elite degli stadi europei.
E questo
So this was the feature on the history of Roma's four stadium, but alongside me we have a history of Rome. It's a fantastic backdrop, the Roman Forum. We've spoke about the 8th King of Rome. We've got 2 Kings of Rome here, Bruno Conti and Paolo Roberto Falcao. This is absolutely fantastic, this backdrop. This is Rome. This is even more fantastic for people who have to actually still come to this stadium. There are very few teams own stadium, and obviously with the difficult economic crisis going on at the world, then I think it's fantastic that they can have their own stadium. Would you like to play a Legends game in this stadium? I think, yeah, we're still in pretty good shape, so we could play for a few minutes. Let's hope so. Paolo, would you like to really kick things off in this new stadium? Let's hope so. As Bruno said, yeah, I can maybe kick the ball once. But I think this is a really important moment in the club's history. It's an important moment for everyone who has contributed to the history of Roma. And I think the fact that I'm able to come here and participate in this historic moment is a really special feeling for me. Bruno, how curious are you to actually see the stadium? Obviously, there's a lot of curiosity behind this. Everyone's very curious. Lots of fans are writing all over social media and so on and so forth. How keen are you to see what the stadium is all about? Yeah, I'm really keen to see, because this is I really hope that it's going to be a great stadium for the fans. As Paolo said, football is changing. It's really important to own your own stadium. And obviously we want to see young players come through the academy and play in this stadium. You're doing some great work with our youth academy. Paolo, the club's doing a great deal of work. Got the Hall of Fame and a number of other initiatives which allow the club to really look at its history. Yeah, absolutely. For those of us that don't play anymore, it's still really important to recall the club's history. Because in life you always actually think about what's going on now, but the club really is showing a different side to this and looking at history. And this is not a club that actually started yesterday. It was 1927 when the club was founded, so everyone that was able to actually play their part in the club's history, I think they've always got to be thanked, and the fans should be grateful for that. So we had Sebino Nela, who spoke yesterday, and there was a lovely embrace between you at the stadium yesterday. Yes, that's fantastic. The club really doesn't forget its history. Former players and former champions. It's still very important for this club. And at Trigoria, there's a lot going on in terms of the fields and the changing rooms. But they really want to do big things here at Roma. Bruno Conti and Paolo Roberto Falcao, I'd like to finish here, but obviously we have a date with history in a few moments. We're actually going to go live to Trigoria in a few minutes because all of the staff are actually watching us there. And this is very important because, as Italo Santi said, we're all a team. You can't play football without a team ethics, so the team is very important. If you don't actually play as a team, you can't do anything. And Roma really have been showing that all the staff that are there, would like to say hello to all of them. And I think this is another fantastic gesture from the club. Bruno and I are more like brothers rather than just friends. I'd like to thank all of you. Yeah. In terms of all of the fans, I'd like to say this is Falcao. Thanks everyone. Thank you very much to these two Giallorossi legends. I'd like to go live to Francesco Vito Colonna at this stage because I want to see what the atmosphere is like in Trigoria, to actually see how excited everyone is about the new stadium, to understand what's going on. And I'd like to say hello to everyone that works there on a daily basis. Francesco. Here we are, Alessandro. We're inside the Champions Room here. And of course, Everyone is very excited to see the presentation of this new stadium. You were speaking with Bruno Conti a while ago, and we are working with staff here that work here on a daily basis. We saw that historic film, and of course it's a historic day in the club's history. Yeah, I think it's a very special moment. Everyone is very excited. No one can wait to actually see what it's all about. We've been given a few hints, if you will, in the papers as to what the new stadium is going to be all about. But having seen the former Stadio Olimpico and seeing the Stadio Flaminio before the 1990 World Cup, the new Stadio Olimpico, we can only imagine what the new stadium is going to be like. It's pretty difficult, actually, to envisage what it's going to be all about. There'll be a new Curva Sud, and we hope it's going to be like it is in Dortmund in the Westfalenstadion. It's not all just about the Curva, but obviously that's a really important part of the ground. And that will actually help to contribute between 10 and 15 points extra a season. How much of an impact can owning your own stadium have? Well, I think at least 10 to 15 points. We've seen that with Juventus in terms of their stadium in Turin. That might not be the case had they not owned their own stadium. You've worked in the youth academy. How important was it to actually see yesterday Alessandro Florenzi scoring the goal? We're absolutely delighted to see the young lads doing well. But there's a number of talents that are coming through the youth academy, and we really hope that in this new stadium we can actually see a number of them really flourish. This is the best work that's going on here, absolutely. Line back to you. We've seen a number of people in Trigoria this morning, and I think that's the best aspect about it. And Italo Zanzi, the CEO, actually reminded us that, just how much of a part of team effort it is. We are inside the main room now, where Matteo Vespasiani will actually give the floor to the speaker to get the press conference underway in a few minutes. But there's a lot of excitement, Matteo, about what is about to be unveiled. It's going to be a huge surprise for our fans, and we'd like to actually say hello to all our fans who are following us on YouTube as well. Yes, Alessandro, the room is gradually filling up. We've heard from Conti and Falcao, who have obviously been jumped upon by the media, who really wanted to have a chat with them, but also by everyone here, because Conti and Falcao together, they really represent something incredible for the history of the club. And even famous Roma fans, if you will, can't resist trying to shake their hand and go and say hello. So they were almost jumped upon as they came in. I'd just like to go through what's going to go on. So in a few minutes' time, from 11 o'clock, everyone will take their seats, and we will begin with a press conference which will be presided over by CEO Italo Zanzo, who will then give the floor to President James Pallotta and the Mayor Ignazio Marino. And indeed, of course, Dan Mays, who will speak about this project, the architect. There will be a very exciting video which he's going to show. And we will obviously go into a lot of detail on everything that is spoken about today, because we will also start to see the plastic, which is part of the new stadium. Everyone is very curious to see this. Everyone is very curious to see Roma Stadium. And nothing has really been leaked about this stadium, so it really is a huge surprise, and people are very keen to see what it's all about. And then we will see the pictures, and then we will see Luca Parnasi, who will talk about his role involved in it. And we will also hear from Greg Kelly, who is in charge of Goldman Sachs, he will speak about how Roma and how this stadium will actually be built, and we'll also hear from the various figures within the Rome City Council. Then we will hear from Francesco Totti, Rudi Garcia and Daniele De Rossi, who will give their view on this project. I'm just looking at my watch to be live. We are live. There's just 7 minutes to 11 now, so I will hand back to you, and we're just about to get started on this terrific day. Thank you, Matteo. I'd like to come back here in this wonderful backdrop. There's a bit of drizzle in the air, but it's still a wonderful view of Rome. And obviously we will see everything which will go on inside the Sala della Promoteca. We are not far off here. Alessio Scarchilli is about to join me. People are very curious to hear what the architect Dan Mace is going to say about the stadium. He's obviously going to give us a clear indication of how the stadium has been put together from a technical perspective. He's going to talk to us about the stadium, which will be a mix between the historical and cultural aspects of this city, which you see behind me, but it will also be a futuristic, a cutting-edge stadium, which will be well in line with the European style. Dan Mace is a wonderful architect. He's part of the United States Institute of Architects, and he has worked on a number of wonderful arenas. He's worked on 28 different projects, and he's currently working on a project in Qatar for the 2022 World Cup. Alessio Scarchilli has just joined me. He won't actually... He will speak about the stadium today, Alessio. People are really excited about seeing Roma's new home. Yeah, what can I say about this? It's an absolutely marvelous backdrop. I've just seen that, and obviously Bruno Conti and Falcao have been here. They're two legends in the club's history. I grew up really dreaming of being able to be a part of this club when I was a kid. So there's an incredible feeling there. Two heroes like that, and a city like Rome, and a club that's doing so well at the moment. A club that's such a big club that has desire to actually take Rome to the top. I really hope that this can, that this dream in terms of the stadium can be realized as soon as possible, so that Rome can really start to emulate some of the greatest clubs around Europe. I really hope that this dream can be realized for the fans, because the fans are closer than ever to really support us. We will hear all about the stadium in a few minutes, but let's go back to Francesco Colonna. Trigoria, Francesco. Once again, we're live from the Champions Room. We're all very keen for the event to get underway. Maurizio Ceci is alongside me.
Francesco.
Obviously, this is very important for the club, for the city, but above all for the fans. The fans pour into the stadium, and the Stadio Olimpico with the athletics track obviously doesn't make things particularly easy. Francesco, I'm just going to interrupt you for a moment. The team has been doing really well this season. We're going to go back live to the Campidoglio, because right at this moment the team have just arrived, and obviously we can't not comment on these pictures because the Giallorossi side have just come. And two famous midfielders are here. One of them is still playing, Daniele De Rossi, and the other one is alongside me, Paolo Roberto Falcao. Let's go and actually see the pictures live from the room, because the team has just come. Obviously, we're just building up to the start of this. We can see Ljajic, Mattia Destro, they're all pouring in little by little. Michel Bastos with a big smile on his face. This is all happening in the Sala della Promoteca, and just in a few moments' time, this wonderful event is going to get underway. We've seen Maicon come in with a big smile on his face, Rodrigo Tadei as well. The team is in the second row. Dodò Castana starting to file in. Everyone's here because everyone is very keen and curious to see all about what this stadium is going to be like this This is something absolutely incredible. People obviously want to see all of this. We saw the two players who were actually in shot there a few moments ago. Francesco Totti and Daniele De Rossi were all ready, and once again Sandro is showing us pictures of our captain, who he will feel particularly special, I think, about attending this event, the 26th of March 2014, a historic day. We should all recall this. We can all see Daniele De Rossi, so we're all ready. The event is about to get underway. I'd now like to very quickly say hello to everyone at Trigoria, Francesco Colonna, because we're all about to get started. Francesco. Yes, the room is absolutely full to bursting. We're all ready to just have a drink and a toast to this. Everyone's very excited to see what it's all about. But all of the Roma staff are here at Trigoria. So this is obviously a historic moment in the club's history. Thank you, Francesco. We'd like to obviously say a big hello to everyone there. We're going back inside the press conference room, and we are going to give the floor back to Matteo Vespasiani, who will take us through the introductory remarks, and we will see the order of play. So we'll unveil this stadium, and we're also going to hear the views of a number of different people, experts on this. We're also going to hear from the press. We're going to hear from Luca Parnasi about the different characteristics of this stadium, but obviously we really want to hear the opinions of a number of different people, because there are some important political figures here. We really want to hear what this means for the city, because obviously a city brings in a huge economic impact in terms of revenue, not only in terms of the club itself, but also more generally in terms of that area of Rome and the city as a whole. So this is something extra for the city. Every big club in Europe owns their own stadium, and this could become very, very important for Roma's future. The club has the ambition to have one of the best stadiums around Europe, and I'm sure President Pallotta and the architect Dan Mace will try and give us an indication of what the stadium is about in its specificities. We'll also hear from Claudio Fenucci, who is the managing director, and also Mauro Baldissoni, the general director. They're all there to take part and attend this historic day and really go into detail about the new stadium. We're all ready then. Here's Gervinho from yesterday evening when he had a terrific game. And we're looking at the model then of the new stadium. This is one of the most exciting moments of the press conference. No one has seen the model of this stadium at all. We've just seen shots of Maicon, and we can get moving moving towards the start of this important press conference.
Sicuramente vedrà fare gli onori di casa chiaramente anche il sindaco
Mayor of Rome, Ignazio Marino, will also going to hear from him over the course of this long live feature. At 2 o'clock, there's also another important event, because we're going to hear all the technical specificities of this from the architect Dan Mays.
Questa conferenza, questa presentazione con ancora una volta inquadrati, e ovviamente i riflettori vanno molto spesso lì, Daniele De Rossi, Francesco Totti.
The cameras tend to focus on this pair, Francesco Totti and Daniele De Rossi. We're all ready to get underway with this press conference. Just a few moments to go, and then we're ready to get started. Everyone is sitting down. We've heard from Matteo Vespasiani. The event is about to get started. We're all ready. I'd like to remind you that you can watch all of this and follow it all on YouTube if you're outside Italy. It's very important then to broadcast this historic day, because we know that AS Roma is an international club, and now we're going to go live because we hear that the press conference has started. I'd just like to remind you that the event is live on Roma channel, and you can also follow it via YouTube.
Be able to get all these people on, because they will keep coming back. I can try.
Allora, siamo ancora in attesa.
We're still waiting then. We're just around a minute away from getting started. There's a lot of people in here today. We're going to talk to our communications, head of communications. There are more than 100 different media outlets who have accreditation today, because obviously this is a huge event all over the world. It's being broadcast live on YouTube. So it's not just an important event in terms of Italy. Let's hear from Matteo Vespasiani inside, because the event should be about to get started. Let's go live.
Allora, mi comunicano che c'è ancora qualche istante da attendere.
A few more moments to wait. Obviously, this press conference is so important that every small detail has been prepared. We've been here for the last week trying to set up this event. As Italo Zanzi, the CEO, said, it really has been an important team ethic. Everyone has contributed towards this to make everything run really smoothly and perfectly. We've also shown some wonderful film clips, which I suggest you keep a really close eye on over the course of this event. There's a huge media interest in this because there's over 100 different media outlets involved. So we're now going live. I've heard. Let's go live to Matteo Vespasiani. Here is the Mayor of Rome, Ignazio Marino, the President of AS Roma, James Pallotta, and CEO Italo Zanzi. Welcome along to everyone. James Pallotta, once again a handshake between the Mayor of Rome, Ignazio Marino, and Francesco Totti. I'd like to remind you that simultaneous interpretation is available, channel 1 for Italian, channel 2 for English. So you will be able to hear the entire press conference with simultaneous interpreting, Italo Zanzi, James Pallotta, and Ignazio Marino. So we can get started, I'd like to give the floor to AS Roma CEO Italo Zanzi.
Buongiorno.
Good morning, everyone.
Buongiorno. Good morning to everyone here in Rome with us and to everyone watching around the world. Today is a very special day for AS Roma and the city of Rome. Today, we present the new Stadio della Roma. It's an ultra-modern facility developed through private investment that will have a profound positive impact on our team and our fans. Today's presentation will be exciting and informative. We'll hear from our owner and president, James Pallotta, Mayor Ignazio Marino, lead architect Dan Mies, and several important guests before opening to questions. Before we get started, I'd like to reinforce how today's presentation follows a very methodical and transparent 24-month planning process for both the stadium and the master site. This process has had consistent fan input and brought together the very best-in-class team to manage each area. These include Ryder Levitt Bucknell for surveying, Legends for ticket planning and sales, AEG for stadium management, Goldman Sachs for finance, CSL for commercial analysis, Woods Bagot for architecture and design, QQ for ticket pricing, and ICSS for security. And with that, it's my honor to present our owner and president, Mr. James Pallotta.
Good morning. First of all, I would just like to thank the mayor and his staff for hosting today, and thank you for all of you for coming. It's a fairly humbling and an amazing experience today, being so close to the forum where there's been so much discussion and debate that's taken place over the years, so many decisions. And it's an honor to be able to present our plans to all of you today and to the city of Rome and to Italy. First of all, I'd like to say that the Stadium Olimpico has been a great place for us to play, and but it has clearly had its time in my mind, and that the fans of Rome, of AS Roma, and that the city of Rome need a new stadium. I think it's great for the city, and I think it's great for the country. For the team, it is clearly going to give us a competitive advantage. It would be nice to have the fans and all of the fans right on the pitch. It would be amazing to see. You wouldn't have to run as far as you did last night after you scored that goal. It would be right there, and you can jump into the crowd right there. As you all know, that we are planning this to be privately funded with our partner Luca Panazzi. I think that's an extremely important point to make, that we are not expecting any funding from Rome or from Italy. I also believe that this stadium is extremely important to restore AS Roma as the global leader that it has been in the past and that it should be. Roma should be the greatest team in the world. In my mind, we are, and the players are, but in the rest of the world's mind, we need to get there, and this stadium will bring us that much closer. I think it's also extremely important to realize that not just the current ownership, but that there are plenty of other global brand leaders who believe in Rome and in Roma. Goldman Sachs, Nike, Disney, Legends, AEG, CAA, Starwood Capital, among many others. So it's not just a question of us having a dream, it's a question of many others around the world believing in the resurgence of Roma in the city of Rome. I also know that this project will create a substantial number of jobs, not just for the construction phase of it, which we hope will only take 2 years, but also as an engine of growth and continued jobs, as you see when we later unveil the project, that many, many jobs will be created and sustained for a long period of time. We also appreciate the cooperation of the Planning Commission. They've been great so far. The Mayor's office has been tremendous. We have tried to work with them all along in showing our plans, and we'll continue to do so. And as I said, hopefully we will have an expedited process and a 2-year construction plan. You know, one of the things that one of my friends reminded me earlier this week was that a number of years ago there was a city not unlike Rome, not quite the history of Rome, but extremely important in the history of another country. And as I was growing up, and I was 5 or 6 years old, we went through some downturns in that city. And that city, as most of you know, is Boston. Not to compare Boston with the history of Rome, but in terms of the United States, Boston is as important a city in the formation of the United States as Rome is to Italy and the rest of the world. And at that period of time, you know, there were certain aspects of the city that seemed fairly depressed in Boston. And with the cooperation of the mayor, the Planning Commission, and a number of real estate projects, Boston in the last 30 years has had a huge resurgence, and you know, it's just one of the great cities of the United States, and the economy in Boston is as good as anything in the United States right now. And there's no reason why Rome couldn't be or shouldn't be, but it should be similar to what we went through in Boston. And we all would like to be part of that process. I'd like to just quickly talk a little about the stadium. It's a state-of-the-art. The technology will be as good as anything that's being done in any stadium right now. Our partnerships with some of the top technology companies in the world. We're looking at a stadium that is capacity of 52,500, easily convertible to 60,000, so that we should have championship league games in Rome, as Rome deserves it, and should be a vital part of that. It is going to be built for the fans. When you see the design, when you see how it's situated on the pitch, when you see the slopes, I'm not sure that I would like to be any other team in the world coming in to play Roma. In fact, I would fear coming into the new stadium. I think I'm going to now turn that over, Idolo, and then to the mayor. And thank you very much. And obviously, we're going to be open for, I assume, an awful lot of questions in a little while. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. We will now hear from our mayor, Ignazio Marino.
Thank you very much. Buongiorno, buongiorno a tutti.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone.
Una giornata molto importante.
Clearly, this is a very important day for AS Roma, but it's also a very important day for the city of Rome and for our country, because today we're talking about a project which is hugely important for the city and for the country as a whole. I think the task of the Rome City Council with President Coratti is to actually come up with a vision for the city, a strategic vision, a vision of growth, and then to actually follow this through with concrete projects which leave their mark. What we're trying to do today, with a lot of determination, is to try and really steer the country as the capital, and we need concrete examples. And I'm very proud of the fact that by welcoming with the necessary vigilance that this project requires, I think we will be the first city to actually build a new stadium with this new national law on stadia. This is a very important piece of legislation which we are in full agreement with. This law tries to actually take away a lot of the bureaucracy which is involved in this process, to really try and speed up the time it takes to build such an important public work. Personally, having lived abroad, particularly in the United States, I've actually been able to see the building of private stadia, such as the one we're talking about today. And I think it's actually wrong to have a negative opinion about projects like this one. We at the Rome City Council, we are going to oversee things, as is our role, and we will assess the project and try and respect the time frame, which is 90 days, to assess the project. And with the Deputy Mayor for Sport, Mr. Pancalli, and Mr. Giovanni Caudo, who is in charge of city planning, which is in charge of urban requalification. So we will do this with a lot of diligence and accountability. And we obviously would like the same accountability from those who are our very welcome guests today for such an important project. We're going to oversee this, but we really believe that Roma this is a new chapter for the city. We hope that this can be realized in a relatively short period of time, and that it can give a meaningful example of an administration which takes on challenges and different commitments, but also sees these through within the time frame originally established. Once I actually had the definitive project and the aspects regarding the economic side of this project, it not only is important for the Giallorossi Fund, who are very important for us, of course, but the city as a whole, and the advantages that this project can actually produce in terms of urban mobility by improving certain transport links, such as the area of Eur and Fiumicino. I'd also like to highlight the fact that the construction of the stadium won't actually take place in an unurbanized area, but an area which is already urbanized. This is something that we already spoke about in our electoral campaign. We don't actually want to take over existing farmland, but we want to take over already urbanized areas which are not currently used in the best possible fashion. I'd also like to set a challenge to Jim. We will do our work with a lot of diligence, but we'd like Francesco and everyone else to already actually play in 2016-2017 in this new stadium, which will make everyone proud and everyone in our city proud.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We will now begin the unveiling process. We'll start with a short video.
I tifosi della Roma penso che meritano avere uno stadio personale, uno stadio unico, uno stadio che veramente fa venire la pelle d'oca.
Ecco inquadrato Francesco Totti, 19 anni, romano.
To be able to try and capture the passion of AS Roma and some of the world's most passionate fans and wrap that incredible history into a modern building was the opportunity of a lifetime for any architect. And for me, without a doubt, the project of a lifetime.
Rise to glory. Rise to glory. Rise to glory.
So now it's an honor to ask Mr. Pallotta and Mayor Marino to please come forward and unveil the new Stadio della Roma. we have a cutout of the inside that's just arrived as well. Thank you very much. Certainly a monumental moment. Next, I'd ask Dan Meese, our lead architect, to walk us through an overview of the design process.
Well, thank you. I think, as Jim said, it's an understatement to say this is a humbling experience. It's always an incredible opportunity to build a building of this significance, but to do it in a city like Rome, with some of the world's most passionate football fans, the kind of architectural history that could inspire anyone, and the play of the team that, as we saw last night, is incredibly inspiring. This truly is a project of a lifetime for us. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the inspiration for the design. And it would just be impossible to design a building in a city like Rome without considering the incredible architectural history here. It defines the city, it's iconic, it's how people think of the city, it's why they come here. It's so symbolic of the power and the passion of the people of the city. But we were obviously also very concerned about how do you take that history and look to the future and create a building that talks not only about the great history of the team and the city, but also talks about the future of the city. So the simplest idea is to think of it as taking the power of the Colosseum, one of the greatest event stadium buildings ever built, and wrapping a new stadium inside that. It's very important for a state-of-the-art stadium to be very tight to the pitch and overcome a lot of the compromises that we've had in Stadio Olimpico in being an Olympic stadium with a track. So the idea of getting a very intimate building, but then still having reference architecturally to the history of the city was important to us. So we looked at a lot of the architectural references, the kind of rhythm of the buildings, the monumentality of the stone, the iconic nature of the designs. And then in trying to draw it into a more modern way, we've taken the idea of the Colosseum wall and turned it into what we've called a floating stone scrim, a very light and dynamic reference, but you can see definitely has a connection back to the history in a way of looking at a new Colosseum. This is a section of a modern stadium, just to show you the idea that the difference between something like Stadio Olimpico and a lot of older stadiums is that they don't have a lot of the levels for the amenities. The seats aren't as close to the pitch, anywhere close to the pitch as much as a modern stadium. And I think if I can switch, yeah. This is an important slide. If you look at the gray area on bottom, that's a section of Stadio Olimpico right now. And the dark lines with the roof, that's the new stadium, this section you see over here. So you can see how much closer all of the seats in the new stadium are to the pitch. And the rake of the seating is much steeper, which makes you feel like you're right on top of the action. So that provides not only a great fan experience for the players, it provides the fans right on top of them for the support, and for the opposing team, they have that to fear. Just a little bit about the site. I think you're all aware of it. We're very fortunate, obviously, in a city like Rome to be able to have a site that allows us not only a place with the area that we need for the stadium, but also to develop it into a total destination. We're very close to the river, and one of the opportunities of that is for us to lift the stadium up. It's another reference to historic buildings, the sort of iconic nature and the monumentality of as you approach a building, there is this sort of procession up. And so the main plaza of the stadium is actually about 7 meters above the existing grade, which allows views from the stadium and the concourses across the river and towards the city. Obviously, one other piece of history here that you couldn't ignore in a new stadium is the power of the Curva Sud. From my first time at a Roma game, this was mesmerizing and magical, the sort of power of the fans and the energy that the Curva Sud brings to the team and to the players. So the new Curva Sud will be a big part of the design of the building. We've actually separated an area of 14,000 seats, very steep, right on top of that end of the pitch, where fans will be in that Curva Sud very identified as a very powerful part of the stadium. You can see here we're looking at the idea of doing a 360-degree video ring at the top of the canopy, something very new in stadium design as well. This is a section through the stadium, giving you again a sense of the steepness of it and a little bit of the idea of the section through the roof. And I think now we have a little flyover that will take you through. I don't know if I have to switch to that. Yep.
The scrim provides an iconic connection to Rome's unparalleled architectural history. The steel and glass state-of-the-art stadium contrasts the history of Rome while embracing Italy's incredible heritage for innovation, engineering, and craftsmanship. From its earliest stages, Stadio della Roma has been designed to provide the most secure environment possible with the least intrusive security presence. In Roma's storied history, the lifeblood of the club flows through the Curva Sud. Its passion and commitment have bolstered all Roma fans for nearly a century. The new Curva Sud stands alone proudly, separate from the horseshoe bowl of the rest of Stadio della Roma, and offers our most dedicated fans an incredible experience. We will have 14,000 ultra-passionate fans right on top of the pitch, creating a stadium that opposing teams will fear. A club's home field advantage is often defined by how close its fans sit to the action. Stadio della Roma's fan base will have the best sightlines and proximity to the pitch of any club in the world. Stadio della Roma will have views of the pitch that have not been experienced in Italian football history. Premium seating allows for families and businesses entertainment throughout the year. In addition to the private boxes, the building includes a number of exclusive clubs, providing an unmatched VIP experience throughout the building. Roma's new state-of-the-art training facility for the first team and their partnership with Nike will provide all the tools necessary for the players to deliver peak performance throughout the season. Roma Village is a sanctuary for Roma fans. It's where the most passionate fan base in sports can come together and experience our Nike Superstore, the club's Hall of Fame and Museum, and an iconic restaurant which will overlook the first team's training facilities. Stadio della Roma will be a zero-carbon footprint facility that proudly showcases recycling, sustainability, and conservation. The building will incorporate state-of-the-art technology throughout, from the ability to order food and merchandise in your seat to the giant 360 video board floating above the stadium. Stadio della Roma will be one of the world's most technologically sophisticated venues.
maybe just one more point. We're obviously not completely finished with it, but as you can see, a lot of work's been done, and we're very far along and very excited to keep developing it.
Thanks very much, Dan. I'll now ask Matteo Vespeziani to introduce several special guests who are here with us today, who will each make a brief statement.
Eccoci qua, grazie Italo. Ovviamente
thank you very much, Italo.
Cominciamo con il sentire alcuni pareri, alcuni commenti.
By hearing some comments and opinions. I've got a number of guests with me who I'd like to say hello to. Absolute stars in the front row, Bruno Conti and Paolo Roberto Falcao. I think these guys really are part of Roma history, and they're sat in front of me here. It's already Giacomo Volosi.
Grazie davvero. E allora io inizierei con l'amministratore delegato di Parsi Italia, che invito a venire qui da me, Luca Parnasi.
Begin with Luca Parnasi. Luca, welcome along this morning.
Prego. Beh, ti lascio la parola per
I'd like to give you the floor then, Luca. Just I'd like your comments on this. I think it speaks for itself, the scale model. Yours must have been a very difficult but important job. Good morning, everyone. First and foremost, I'd like to thank Jim for having given me the opportunity to really be part of this great team. And I'd also like to thank the entire Pars Italia team who have allowed us to actually unveil a new project like this today. What can I say about this? Well, first of all, I need to take off my AS Roma shirt. Obviously, I'm a huge Giallorossi fan, but as a businessman in this city, a city in which I was born, I'd like to say it's an absolutely huge opportunity for us. Recently, I was actually in Cannes in one of the most important real estate festivals, and a lot of foreign clients actually want to invest in Italy and in Rome. This is a unique opportunity, as Jim said, because this is a private operation which is financed privately, which will help to create a number of jobs in Rome. Rome needs this so that it can actually go back to really playing the role of the capital of the world that it really deserves. So I'd like to thank everyone for being here today, and I really hope that this dream can be realized, and we're going to give all our energy, put everything in. I think Roma has the cultural, professional qualities on behalf of all of the different forms of administration that are involved to make sure that we actually respect the time frame and the level of the project and the arena. It will all be done at a very high level. I'd like to thank all of you, and particularly Jim. Thank you very much. Thank you, Luca. Thank you. We'll see you later on. We're now going to talk to the number of different political figures. I'd like to talk to Luca Pancalli, who's the Deputy Mayor for Sport here in Rome. You've seen it. You've also actually seen the plastic model. I'd like your comments on this, please. First and foremost, I can't not actually recognize what the mayor, Mr. Marino, said. There are two overriding feelings today. It's the fact that we really appreciate Roma's initiative in terms of this. The feeling as a Roma fan, as a sport lover, for this initiative which gets underway today. I'm absolutely enthusiastic, and I'm aware of the fact that an initiative like this is very important for the city of Rome, but it's also, and above all, very important for the club to really make sure that they can balance the books and bring in a significant revenue, and the club will need this, and a number of clubs in our country need that. But I'd also very enthusiastic about the fact that the mayor has really assessed the project. What I'm particularly interested in, and I will keep an eye on everything going on in terms of the economic sustainability of this stadium. And as we know, in this country, this has often actually been limited. But once again, just as Ignazio said, As a sports lover, I can't actually only cheer on this project. I really hope that this comes true and actually comes about in the shortest time frame possible. Thank you, Luca Pancalli. I'd like to bring Giovanni Caudo, the Deputy Mayor for City Planning, up here. Let's give him a round of applause, please, ladies and gents. The Mayor was saying earlier on, you've decided actually to requalify, urban requalification. This is the terminology you use. I'd like to hear your comments on that, please. I'd like to back up what the Mayor said earlier on. This is a hugely important project in front of us for the city. Stadia like this are now really important. It's not just, it's a huge part of terms of entertainment and bringing in money to the city. And as the Mayor quite rightly pointed out, we need to be very rigorous on this. This is not only a stadium, but it's huge in terms of actually changing the face of the city. This can have a lot of different uses for the city of Rome. We think that this stadium needs to be a stadium for the entire city, not only for Roma fans. So this stadium needs to actually be welcomed by the city as a whole. It needs to produce a public interest as well, and I'm also going to actually check that this is all in line with the law on stadia. We're going to have a public transport system which will not only be actually dedicated to the stadium, but will also be able to actually take on board a number of different problems that we're currently facing. And I think a number of people involved in this project are well aware of this issue for the administration. We also need to reduce the actual space contracted for work. In this city, there's a number of limited space in terms of office space. This is a city which is changing a great deal. We'd like this project to do the opposite. We'd like to have the opportunity in Rome to not only welcome foreign investment, but also house new offices and new headquarters for other business. The project begins today, but it actually will begin in 15 to 20 days, but the law actually stipulates that within 90 days that the public administration assesses certain factors. As we've all said, we're very happy with the work that's gone on so far. But of course, despite the enthusiasm that surrounds the stadium this morning, we can't actually overlook our role in terms of public administration to make sure that we look after the interests of every public citizen. Once again, this is not only a project in terms of stadium, but it's a huge centre for business as well in Rome. As I'd like to add, there is a specific deadline which is stipulated within this law on stadium. We'd like to be very specific amendment on this. We'd like this project, when it's actually assessed, that it's welcomed by the city, and then it can be observed that we can actually open up a window for dialogue. And in any case, good luck to AS Roma. The public administration will play its part. It's a challenge for us in terms of the time frame we've been given by the law, but we'll try and actually be up to the challenge. Thank you very much. Thank you, Giovanni Caudo. I'd like to welcome Greg Carey, Global Head of for his speech and everything else he wants to say.
I've been an investment banker for over 30 years and have financed over 100 billion euros of projects, including over 30 stadium and arena transactions. I've actually taught a class at New York University called The Economics of Investment in Sports Facilities. Goldman Sachs is serving as the structuring advisor to AS Roma for the new stadium. The structure we're using is very similar to the way we finance many stadium and arenas in the United States, but taking into account Italian law, but also the new stadium law that has just been passed. Examples of the facilities that I have worked on include Yankee Stadium, MetLife Stadium, which is the home of the New York Giants and the Jets, where Super Bowl 2014 was played, the new Levi Stadium, which is the home of the San Francisco 49ers, another one of Jim's favorites, Gillette Stadium, the home of the New England Patriots, and just recently a new stadium for the Minnesota Vikings. Revenues from the stadium are what is going to support the capital structure. This is going to be a privately financed stadium using naming rights, sponsorships, advertisings, premium seating, and concessions. Mr. Pallotta has brought together a world-class group to make sure the stadium becomes a reality and to ensure Roma's place in the Serie A. They include Luca Pernazzi, DLA Piper, Woods Baggett, Dan, a wonderful, wonderful unveiling. Congratulations. Legends, AEG, Goldman Sachs, and others. I can't tell you how excited we are to be part of this transformational project for AS Roma, the city, and the country. I'm told that the Romans used the Colosseum for over 4 centuries. We plan on using this new stadium for generations to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kerry. Grazie.
Thank you, Mr. Kerry.
Adesso, insomma, è il momento di accogliere qui.
Now it's the time to actually welcome, I think you'll agree on this, as Luca Parnasi was saying before, a number of people actually need to take their giallorossi shirts off, even if they do have it somewhere under there. What a great win yesterday. Luca, couldn't have been a better evening to actually introduce this presentation. Thank you to the entire squad, fantastic. I'd like to bring up Rudy Garcia alongside me. Daniele De Rossi. And Francesco Totti.
Allora, vi chiedo un commento, insomma, non è un'intervista, però
I'd like a comment. It's not necessarily an interview, but I noticed that you already actually unveiled a new stadium at Lille. Mr. Garcia, what's the feeling here? Well, it'll be our new home, let's say. And what I like about this home is the garden in the middle. Let's give a round of applause to Mr. Garcia, because he's already making history here in terms of putting the church back in the middle of the village. Yeah, we need to continue making history in this garden, Roma's history. Thank you, Rudy Garcia. That's something we all hope, obviously. Daniele, what's your feeling on this? Obviously, it's hugely special. I saw some comments on my computer, but obviously the hope is that this is done nice and quickly, the work's done nice and quickly, and in the meantime we can actually continue on the pitch while the stadium's being built to really continue bringing happiness to our fans, so that we actually have some big trophies in the some big silverware in the trophy cabinet by the time we get into this new stadium. Francesco. Yeah, I think it speaks for itself. It's a wonderful project. As Daniele has just said, we really hope that it's done in the least possible time. This is a new house, a new home for all of us Romanisti. We hope to win a number of trophies and really bring great pride and glory to the Roma colours. Thank you to my guests, Francesco Totti, Daniele De Rossi and Rudy Garcia, just in front of the plastic scale model there. I'd now like to give the floor to Italo Zanzi first and foremost, before we have the questions from the press.
Right.
Parola Italo Zanzi.
Thank you.
I'd like to give the floor to Italo Zanzi.
I just want to say a few words about how important prioritizing the fans of Roma have been in this process. As you can tell from the stadium, we're truly revolutionizing the fan experience in Rome, recognizing they are the true strength of our club. We'll have a ticketing process that prioritizes our season subscribers and so many features, whether it's for families, for VIPs, for businesses, that truly makes the fan come first. But most uniquely, all the way through the process, we've really brought in fan input. Over 60,000 surveys and focus groups have been held to make sure that the fans have their voice in this process. And a unique thing will be introduced called the Tribuna dei Tifosi. 5,000 fans, which will serve as an advisory committee for the club and the stadium to give their input. Fans will be able to volunteer for this through a new website called Stadio della Roma.com, which will go live today, and serve also as a way to follow the entire building process and development through completion. With this concludes our presentation. I'd like to ask Katio Gelli now to open the floor for questions. Thank you very much for your attention, and as always, Forza Roma.
Prova? Ok. Allora, innanzitutto benvenuti a tutta la stampa.
First of all, I'd like to welcome all the members of the press. I know it's pretty difficult to actually plan such a huge event like this. I'm now going to actually explain what goes on because it doesn't finish here. In terms of the press, we're now going to start with this series of questions and answers. Obviously, there's a huge amount of you guys. We're only going to have a certain period of time to actually have you guys pose your question. Then the team are going to go away with the managers, and then we're going to move into the mix zone where we can actually bring President James Pallotta and the mayor if you want to ask them some questions on that. And there will also then be the opportunity to talk to our architect and his assistants to ask more specific technical questions on the stadium. Should there be anything you want to inquire about, you will find a USB stick outside so that you can have all of the different details for all of the press. Let's begin with the questions. Once again, I'd like you to be concise. One question per paper, please. Let's begin with the Financial Times.
Mr. Pallotta, Guy Dimmore, the Financial Times. Thank you very much. It looks a wonderful project. Can you try and give us some more details, please? How much will the stadium cost? How is the financing being divided up? The Mayor, Mr. Mariano, spoke of beginning in the season 2016, so it's just over 2.5 years' time. Can you confirm that date? And I'm still a bit confused exactly where the stadium will be, except it's in the south of Rome. But thank you.
Thank you for the question. In terms of overall cost, it's always difficult to arrive at a final number.
300 million euros for the stadium itself. How's that?
Great.
Right.
Great.
We got that. Good. That's
But,
just the stadium piece.
Yeah, and actually, we'd like to ask Mr. Carey, as it relates to the financing part of the question, to
financing for the project will be
the microphone.
The financing of the project will be done with, initially with bank loans and equity will fund the project. And we've looked at the initial financial feasibility, feel very comfortable with the project.
And the last part of the question in terms of the location, the Tor di Valle region is located in the southwest part of Rome, almost equidistant between the center and the Fiumicino airport.
Okay. Next. Kicker, Germania. Oliver.
Hi, my name's Oliver from Kicker in Germany. Do you actually have already a name for the stadium? Will it be named after Totti or the Colosseum?
It's certainly not going to be named after the Colosseum. I think there's only one of those. The naming rights are still being debated on what the name of the stadium is going to be, and that Legends is working on that. As far as Francesco goes, you know, I certainly would like to see him be the first person to run out on that pitch.
Yeah, Stadio della Roma, we believe, is a great institutional name for the stadium as we launch it. Like every new building that's built, obviously there'll be important commercial partners that join. We as a club have built out our commercial department. Sean Bauer has recently joined us as our Chief Commercial Officer, and he, in conjunction with many world-class third parties, will be in market to find the best partners not only for the stadium, for the club, and for the city of Rome.
Okay.
Usually you name stuff after somebody's gone and he's still around.
Paola Sonia, Sky.
Buonasera, complimenti Mr. Pallotta.
Congratulations, Mr. Pallotta. Recent history, Mr. Pallotta, has taught us, also in terms of the First Republic, but also recent history has actually taught us that Italian bureaucracy has always actually been the enemy of really planning something concrete. I'd like to actually ask you if you are afraid of how long bureaucracy will take to go through in the red tape surrounding the project.
I'm fairly confident that the process that we've been going through so far has been pretty inclusive. And as far as bureaucracy goes, I grew up in Boston, and Rome has nothing on us. But I believe that if we're transparent, which we've been all along, I think, and if we're inclusive, which I think we've been not only with the mayor and the planning commission and continue to be, but also with the fans. As Italo said, we've been very inclusive. I think it's over 65,000 fans that we've surveyed already on building this stadium. I think we've chosen a spectacular location. We started out over 2 years ago with Cushman and Wakefield, and I think we had almost 110 proposals, cut it down to 12 to 3, and clearly this is the best location. And I think we're also extremely lucky from day one that we got to be partners with Luca Panazzi, and Luca has certainly made his way around Rome for a long period of time too, and his family, and it's just I think a great partnership, and I'm really not concerned about it as long as we are completely transparent to the process.
Okay, France Presse.
Hi, Emmanuel Baranguet, Agence France Presse. A question for the President. Are you sure it's not so dangerous to build a stadium near the Tevere? And first, and second, there's no road for the moment going straight to the stadium. Will you, the club will build this road or the city?
We've said from day one that we are not looking for any financial aid from the city or from Italy. So whatever infrastructure needs are necessary for the stadium, we will finance it. As far as the first part of your question, I think we've certainly done an awful lot of studies, and we haven't chosen a site, as you say, willy-nilly. I mean, we've spent an awful lot of time on it, and we're very confident that the site works.
The key for the club also is not doing this alone. Obviously, the city's with us. Parsa Italia is with us, and as it relates to transportation and infrastructure, this is an ongoing dialogue. This is a stadium presentation. There's a lot of pieces that will come over the next weeks and months that still need to be resolved and worked on, but all for the betterment of the project. And as we go through the presentation or the questions, certainly if Luca or the city would like to comment on those pieces, we welcome it, but we're very confident we're going to end up in a very good place for everyone.
Ok, Radio Core Il Sole 24 Ore.
Buongiorno, sono Marcello Marinaro dell'agenzia Radio.
Mr. Marcello Marinare,
Vorrei fare una domanda
I'd like to
quella del collega del Financial Times.
just bounce back to the question that my colleague from the Financial Times made about the overall cost of the project. Roma obviously is on the stock exchange, so obviously the shareholders, stakeholders will be interested in the financial details. You spoke about 300 million euros just for the stadium itself as the project in terms of the cost, but all of the infrastructural costs surrounding it in terms of transport within the area, if these are obviously taken on by private entities, and the club needs to look after this, I'd actually like to know, including this 300 million euros, I'd actually like to know what the entire cost is, and I'd also then like to know if I could have an indication as to who the new financial I'm referring to the new Chinese partner. I'd like to know about the details. We've spoken about that at length recently. I'd like to know that about the new Chinese partner.
The second is outside investment in the club, as was in the room with the Chinese and other potential investors. So there's two questions.
You know, as far as the total cost of the project goes, we have said that the stadium itself should be about 300 million euros. Depending on how we go through the planning process with all of the Roman officials will depend on the final cost of the project, on what is approved, but it could be upwards of €1 billion. As far as the second part, give me 1 second, please.
Other investors in the club,
we have, you know, we have raised a significant amount of money for the club. We have not publicly said how much money and who the investors are that have come in, but we're very confident that we are in a very, very strong financial position at the club, notwithstanding what you may read in the press or what you may have seen in the past balance sheets. We're very confident that the next year and beyond, we're in a significantly positive financial position. And that is clearly, at the same time, continuing to improve upon, you know, the facilities and the club and the team. So as far as, I think you asked one specific, on the Chinese?
Well, that was, it was an example.
Oh, as a specific examples as Chinese, we have not had any conversations with them in at least a couple of months. We had a couple of preliminary conversations, but you know, while we did like them very much, we don't have to have them as investors. We're in, again, a very strong position. And it's the discussions right now, if there are any going on with the Chinese investor, would probably be with Unicredit right now and not with us.
Ok. Gazzetta dello Sport.
Buongiorno a tutti.
Good morning, everyone.
Grazie.
Thank you.
Volevo chiedere, non so chi di voi due.
I don't know who to ask out of you two, if it's actually the mayor or the president, Mr. Pallotta. As you've said some very important things, I'd like to ask you something else very important, if I may, as a Roman who lives in this city on a daily basis. Mr. Mayor, you know how things have gone in this city over the past few years, particularly when it comes to actually building things. I'd like to actually ask you if you're actually able to guarantee and promise not only Roma fans, but the city as a whole, that this effort from private investors, who will also actually be called upon to help to contribute to infrastructure, particularly with regards to the viability of the stadium, this will be a commitment that doesn't actually ask for anything in exchange, not as we've actually been used to in the over the last few years in this city. I'm quite happy to answer your question. Once again, I'd like to highlight the fact that the name we actually wanted to give to what we really actually previously called urban planning, this is now urban requalification. We've been very clear on the fact that we have some very clear ideas on building. We want to regenerate, requalify urban areas which already exist. We don't want new concrete on the Roman territory. We've said that. We've already confirmed that. Some people aren't happy about that, but we're going to keep moving forward in that direction because we actually believe that that is the direction that a modern metropolis would actually take on. This is something else which other big cities are doing around the world. As to your question about respecting the time frame, this administration, this Rome City Council wants to actually demonstrate that Roma really has turned the page. This is a new chapter. We've already spoken about this with Jim Pallotta. We've referred to situations which obviously didn't bring a lot of honor to the city in terms of building sporting facilities. What we're going to do is demonstrate that we actually have a different approach and we're a lot more diligent and serious about this issue.
Also, your question's a good one in talking about costs, but we should also talk about the opportunity. Now, this project is intended and will bring jobs, events, new businesses, tax revenue, and other investments to Rome. So when we look at it comprehensively, it's not, the question really shouldn't be about what it will cost people, because we've been very clear that this will be privately financed, but also it should really focus on the opportunity for the city of Rome.
Ok. Corriere della Sera, Luca Valdiseri.
Mi sembra che per gli stadi italiani
I think in terms of Italian stadiums today, there are two main enemies. The first is television. Obviously, they're very welcomed for the revenue they bring in, but it means that people are more reluctant to go to the stadium. And obviously, still the fear that people still have in terms of going to the stadium, in terms of racism, the issues of violence that we've encountered a great deal in the past. I'd like to ask you if there are already some ideas about how to bring people to the stadium and how you can really fill it up.
Our goal is to make the most fan-friendly stadium in the world. And to do that, we've brought in top-notch partners, whether it's ICSS, the design process, and maybe, Dan, you can touch on some of the security and fan-friendly elements that encourage fans to come to the stadium. Clearly, there have been problems around the world in football as it relates to violence, but we want to make this a haven for fans who want to come enjoy and support our club. So with that, Dan, maybe you can touch on it briefly.
Well, there were probably two parts to the question. I mean, one is something that sports all over the world is being challenged by. That the better the broadcast, the in-home broadcast becomes, the harder it is to get fans to actually come to the stadium. You have the advantage of having an incredibly passionate fan base, and something we watched last night, watching that game on TV, was nothing like being in the stadium. So we've worked very hard to create an environment where people feel safe, they can bring their family. There's the kind of room that we don't have at Olimpico to not create a crush as you get into the stadium. And I think more than anything, there's the confidence that in a new building like this, the environment changes. People will feel different about their stadium. I think they'll take care of it in a different way, and they'll take care of themselves. And I think people will naturally want to come just to be part of the experience.
But also, to be fair, the responsibility doesn't stop with the club. I mean, this is going to be a partnership between us, the government, the police authorities, and everybody else to make sure we provide that environment for fans. And it's also about the fans making sure that they insist on an environment that's friendly for them and that they participate in that process. So we're very confident. We think this will be a fantastic new opportunity to develop the best fan-friendly environment in the world.
It's also good if you keep winning.
Ok, Repubblica, Matteo Pinci.
Salve.
Repubblica, good morning.
President,
I'd like to ask you something. We've actually read that this is going to actually be an asset of a new company, this stadium. We'd like to know if this is true. Are Roma going to be a part of this new company? Are they going to benefit from potential revenue from the arena? Or will they actually have to pay rent to make use of the arena itself?
The Stadium Co. is a separate company only for structural reasons, but the stadium will be owned and part of the AS Roma club.
Also, Mr. Carey asked if he could comment briefly. Sorry, I didn't know if you were finished.
The financial structures that are used, and a lot of it has to do with law and perfection of security interest. You want to separate certain of the revenues from the team revenue. You want to have the stadium basically pay for itself without affecting how the club can deal with CapEx and transfer window. So it's really a financing structure, but it ultimately all is consolidated into the overall cash flow.
Thank you, Greg.
Andiamo avanti. Messaggero, facciamo le ultime.
Sì, io volevo andare oltre ad alcune domande.
Yes, I'd like to actually go into greater details about some of the questions some of my colleagues have said and what Mr. Caldo said. One of the main problems to do with stadium are actually access from railways and so on and so forth. I'd like to actually ask the mayor if the stadium will only actually be opened once the various infrastructure has been built. The other thing that I'm interested to know is just how important the commercial aspect is within inside the stadium, how many different areas there will be within inside the area, commercial areas inside the stadium. I can only actually answer the first question because the second part is something that we're going to analyze. We, Giovanni Caldo, the Deputy Mayor for Urban Requalification, once we actually have the full project, the first answer then is pretty simple. The stadium will not be opened until all of the infrastructural facilities have been built. Maybe you didn't understand. We have changed page. We have moved forward. This is a new chapter in Rome.
The second question touched on the commercial part, which quite candidly is very important, but important in a very positive way. Certainly there's ticketing revenue, there's sponsorship revenue, but all of that flows through experiences that are better for the fans in the city of Rome and creates jobs, creates opportunities, creates a heightened profile. So the commercial part is critical. That's how these buildings around the world get built. And we're really thrilled to have the best-in-class partners with us to be able to do that and to be able to build the stadium without asking the public, without asking the government for any money. And most importantly, provide the best environment for our team to win and for our fans to enjoy themselves.
Facciamo le ultime due che sono i giocatori che si... Corriere dello Sport, tempo e chiudiamo, grazie.
Tempo.
Buongiorno.
Good morning, everyone.
Premesso che trovo lo stadio molto bello e il progetto.
I think the project is wonderful. I think it's a really exciting project, but I was wondering, would it not actually be advisable in terms of the number of perplexities, question marks that have come out today, to actually have a business plan, a complete one with the names of the sponsors, the financiers, and a financial plan which would give a bit more clarity as to the investment behind this, or whether this financial plan has not actually been put together and it will be elaborated in due course?
We've presented a comprehensive plan that includes financial confidence. Obviously, this is an important step in the process. The goal today was to present the stadium project to the public and the city of Rome with the support of the mayor, of the assessore and of the business community. So in reality, we believe that we have all the pieces in place. If there are specific items that will still work through, that will be done in due course. But we're completely confident we've presented everything that we would like to at this point, and that the project is completely viable and a terrific opportunity for everyone.
Ok, facciamo l'ultima, il tempo, Alessandro.
Buongiorno a tutti.
Ti
Tempo, good
ricordo poi
morning
di stare
everyone.
seduti per favore, giornalisti, perché così
I'd like
mettiamo la squadra
the press to actually stay seated after this so that the team can then exit. We also saw a training ground from the video. So I imagine that the first team will actually relocate to there. So what's going to happen with Trigoria? Are you going to continue using the training ground at Trigoria? And I'd also like to know how much a season ticket will cost in the Curva, perhaps, for a whole season.
Trigoria will remain an important part of our club. It will give us the opportunity to use the facilities there to build out a world-class youth training facility, to bring in people from all over the world, to develop medical techniques and training techniques. Trigoria will remain an important part of the club. The second part about the ticket pricing, we're not announcing anything yet. We think that we will be very reasonable and competitive in the market. Most importantly, we will prioritize the current subscribers. We'll be making an announcement shortly on our season tickets for next year, which will give people an opportunity to participate first in the new stadium ticketing plan. Katia, with that, I believe that we bring to a close the question and answer session with Mr. Pilata, if you'd like to, or Mr.
Applaudiamo la squadra che la squadra lascia la sala protomoteca.
The team are going to leave the Sala della Promoteca.
Scusi, un annuncio solo. Che 15
I'd just like
minuti
to
anche
announce
abbiamo
something
un
that
technical briefing
we actually have a
dell'architetto Dan
technical
Mees
briefing
qua in
with
questa
the
stanza
architect Dan Mees
per qualcuno
in
che
this
vuole
room in
rimanere
15
per
minutes.
più dettagli
So
dello
if you
stadio.
want to actually stay for
Grazie.
more details on the stadium, then you are welcome to do so. Thank you.
Eccoci dunque, appena terminato questo evento.
The press conference has just finished, and once again we have to say this is a wonderful event, absolutely really exciting project, and fantastic to actually see the scale model. It was a very unique moment when he actually unveiled the stadium, but obviously all the clips that we saw with the comments from the architect Dan Mees have also given a very emotional moment. This is a mix, this stadium, as you can see behind me, the mix, there's the culture and history of this city, and obviously there'll be a huge mix between this and modernity in the new stadium. We shouldn't forget the importance and just how imposing the Colosseum is. Another important subject that was actually brought up by President James Pallotta and by the architect Dan Mays was what actually struck them most in terms of not only from the architectural point of view, but also in terms of the structure. He said that it will drive fear into opponents, and Mr. Pallotta has often spoken about this. They spoke about the sporting side of things, and obviously there are all the different infrastructural aspects which are very significant. The development will go on around the stadium. So this was a very high-level presentation in terms of all of these different areas. In a few moments' time, we're also going to have Matteo Vespasiani live once again from within inside the Stadio della Promoteca with some guests, including Marco Paonessa, who is going to actually go into detail and interview some of the Roma players. Obviously, we've already heard the views of Captain Francesco Totti. We've heard from Coach Rudy Garcia, who once again said that I'm really interested in the garden in the medium of the stadium, in the middle of our home. And obviously he was referring to the field of play. So once again, I'd like to say this was a really high-level press conference. We've also heard of the questions of some of our colleagues from the press who are very curious about the different forms of investment behind it and the sponsors that will be involved in the stadium, the sponsors which will support this stadium, as President James Pallotta said. But quite frankly, I think at this moment in time we really need to focus on the most important factor of this. That is the fact that AS Roma and Rome as a city will have its own stadium. This is obviously a huge financial undertaking which not only relates to the football club, AS Roma, obviously, that we're very interested in from up close, but also everything else that can be developed around the arena, everything that can be developed in our city. So, of course, this is another aspect that we should highlight. It's a wonderful stadium, it's cutting edge, it's modern, but it also has some important features from the history and the past of this wonderful city. And I think this is the thing that struck us the most. The fact, already imagining Roma's home like this, which already recalls the history of our city, but a stadium which is already very functional from every perspective, particularly with regards to technology. This is something which gives us a great thrust to try and actually really get this done in time and really enjoy this stadium. We've seen the scale model, we've seen the slides, we've spoken about the attendance, 52,500, which can then be extended to 60,000. And at 2 o'clock there will also be another press conference which will also be shown live with the architect Dan Mays, who will talk to us about the other technical aspects of this stadium. All of the press have actually been given USB sticks upon which they can find all of the difficult details about this stadium. I think this is another very significant aspect. We now have Matteo Vespasiani ready for us. He was inside the electrifying atmosphere here at the Campidoglio, inside the Sala della Promoteca. Matteo, I don't know what your opinion was, whether it was the same as mine, but when the stadium was actually unveiled, this plastic model, but it really was that moment that really struck me, that when I saw the first clip, I really was struck, and I have to say that it was a really emotional moment. Absolutely, absolutely, Alessandro. It was a huge emotion. We told the story of this. We've also seen pictures of the plastic model. We'll continue to see that now, thanks to Sandro Chiappa in the production unit. It's absolutely incredible, this stadium. This is something which really touched our hearts. Seeing this new stadium project, seeing this video, as Dan Mays actually described what he called the project of his absolute dream come true in terms of his life, because it really was emotional.
veramente come una sua creatura.
And he looks at the plastic model as one of his own creations.
Tra virgolette politico.
There are also some political issues surrounding this, of course, because a number of speeches were made. We heard from Mayor Marino, who I think was very clear and very concrete in terms of urban requalification, through which he actually wants to realize this project. So this was a really emotional day, and then obviously unveiling this in front of Giacomo Losi, Falcao and Bruno Conti, and having Francesco Totti just alongside, who was really curious. I think it was wonderful. And then going into all the details, I think I have to say that the environment, the atmosphere here from 7:30, 8 o'clock onwards this morning, right up until the press conference began, a historic day. This really has left us with our mouths open. We've been really impressed, really happy. President Pallotta's really happy, CEO Zanzi's very happy, and also the mayor who spoke a moment ago is very happy. The entire squad was in position, everyone was here. It was a really emotional, historic day, but it's still to finish, as you said, because I'm going to give the line back to you, because perhaps we have some guests alongside you. Yes, absolutely. I'd like to just pause for a moment and talk about the political side of things, because I think Ignazio Marino really is determined to change tack. A number of questions actually that were asked today tended to be a little bit pessimistic, because that's sometimes actually part of the way people are by nature, but the spirit of the United States, the spirit of this club, is actually that we've actually overcome these different obstacles and we've overcome difficult situations. If we think about fan cards, for example, we've spoken a great deal about that. But I think in this presentation everyone came together. The desire from Roman institutions, the city council, the mayor's office, all of the different deputy mayors who really want to overcome these different obstacles and really get this done very quickly within 2016-2017 season. This is very important, of course. And we definitely noticed how close all the speakers were in this press conference. Matteo, back with you live. Yes, I'm actually with a friend, with Paolo Sogna from Sky Sports, who obviously represents one of the top sporting channels in Italy and elsewhere.
Durante la conferenza è sicuramente un progetto molto affascinante.
Paolo, obviously it's a very exciting project. Yeah, rather than exciting, it's marvelous. It's a beautiful stadium which really got everyone dreaming here. Really captured the imaginations of everyone. All of the Roma fans are already starting to think about this stadium. It's an absolute marvel. I've seen people, I've seen football players with their left with their mouths open, their eyes aghast. There's a slight fear about Italian bureaucracy, which has always actually been a hurdle to really realize things like this. But I think this project really is showing that there's a great relationship between what we actually need to do, things that need to be done, the concrete things need to be done when it comes to owning your own stadium. So that's my main concern. As I said, that's my chief concern. But I think AS Roma's management is very determined on this. They said that they're optimistic about the costs being covered. We're obviously going to see about these details in due course, but they'll work on this on a daily basis. But I think for the city of Rome and for AS Roma fans, finally, this is going to be a historic moment. I'd like to ask you this before I just give you a few moments. I don't want to keep you any longer than possible. What were you most impressed about? Most impressed with about this plastic model we've heard about before this, about having different levels similar to the Colosseum. It's obviously, again, really exciting project. Yeah, I think the best thing Something which has already given me goosebumps, if you will, is the Curva Sud, which is right on top of the pitch. Over the last few years, we've noticed that Juventus Stadium really has given Antonio Conte's side a little bit extra. I've been able to go there, obviously. I think everyone's been able to visit this stadium. We've really seen what a stadium like that actually means to a team. So I think that curva, that end stand, which is right on top of the pitch, will be worth at least 5 or 6 points over the course of a league season. Alessandro, back to you. Thank you, Paolo. Thank you, Matteo. Thank you, Paolo, our colleague from Sky Sports. I'm here with Alessio Scarchilli. I've just got to keep an eye on the monitor because we've got this wonderful backdrop. What are your first feelings then, Alessio? I know you were trying to actually take some pictures of what was going on your iPhone. I think everyone did. The plastic model, this really high-level project. Yeah, it's cutting edge, but obviously it has this, it recalls the past. Yes, it really was something very emotional. It's a wonderful experience. And as I've heard from President James Pallotta, I think he's very determined in actually respecting the timeframes on this project, because objectively we Italians and we Romans have obviously experienced certain situations which are rather unique, rather unusual. So obviously this project, I really hope that it can be realized as soon as possible for football, because there are too many positive aspects to really not go through with this project. And I think I've really seen in the eyes of the players just how exciting a stadium like this is before. I'll repeat what I said before. Roma really deserves a stadium like this. This city of Roma and Roma fans, and I really hope that this can be achieved as soon as possible, because it's a wonderful stadium. Inside, once again, Matteo Vespasiano. Alongside him is CEO Italo Zanzi. Matteo, I'm sure we'd like to ask him some questions, because this is a presentation that we really enjoyed.
Sì, eccoci. Ok. Senti lingua inglese? Okay,
would you like to do it in English? Okay, I'll ask you a question. There's no problems at all. We're live with Italo Zanzi. Yes, Alessandro, I wanted to actually call Italo alongside me because, of course, he's one of the key figures alongside the Mayor Marino and President Pallotta this day today. He explained a number of different things, and there's also, obviously, you've got strong feelings behind this project. Yeah, I've got a lot of feelings, a lot of strong feelings. It's a very special day for us here.
Se uno pensa di tutto l'amore che ha tutta questa città, che hanno tutti i tifosi per questa squadra, per noi possiamo fare un progetto come questo per prendere alla squadra, alla città e ai tifosi una vera casa di calcio, per aiutare la squadra a vincere, per dare una migliore esperienza ai tifosi. È una cosa unica, una volta nella vita si fa una cosa così.
Prima hai ringraziato anche tutta la squadra.
Earlier on you actually thanked the entire team, the team ethic behind this. It's very important. Often the real work goes on behind the scenes. Yes, before the press conference I thought it was actually important to thank everyone that has worked alongside us, people working for Roma Channel, the people working in the press office behind the scenes. All of these people make an event like this possible. Yes, we're here in front of the camera, but we couldn't actually be here without all of the work that goes on behind the scenes from the team, and I thought it was really important to actually highlight that and thank them. Alessandro, I'd like to actually really congratulate Italo Zanzi for his wonderful, perfect Italian. Let's have another question then, perhaps. Italo Zanzi, I'd like to actually thank him and say hello from everyone at Trigoria, because we went live to there on Roma Channel, and I think this is an important message to actually put across to Italo, and whether he actually noticed the desire from the administration to really change tack, change the way things have been done in the past. Yes, Alessandro is saying that all of the staff and workforce at Trigoria say hello to you. They're watching live, and this is And obviously Italo Zanzi has always kept a very close eye on this, so obviously they really wanted to actually say hello to you guys. And with regards to the stadium, did you notice that the mayor's office and Rome as a capital really has decided to change tack? First of all, our workforce are hugely important, our staff are hugely important. Right from day one, I've really worked to try and get to know everyone, to create an environment in which we all work together, so that we have a teamwork ethic. And I think the stadium is yet another example of that. I think this is hugely important once again.
Si lavora anche con il sindaco, no? Molto bene.
And the work with the mayor's office as well. Yes, this is absolutely essential for us. All the various meetings that we had with the mayor's office, with the city, there was a very positive atmosphere behind that. There was a lot of energy behind that. And they really wanted to get this project done as quickly as possible. I'd like to ask you one final question then. We always see James Pallotta in a sort of institutional guise. Has he given you any details? Listen, I'm not going to speak for Jim, but he's someone who has a strong feeling about the city, the fans and the team itself. But you need to speak to him, because I think he will definitely give you his own opinion, his own response on that. Alessandro, back to you. Thank you, Matteo. Matteo alongside Italo Zanzi. So we are now going to hear from Francesco Totti, who we actually managed to catch up with just after the press conference finished. Let's go and hear from Francesco. We're alongside Francesco Totti. The press conference has just finished, unveiling the new stadium. What are your first impressions straight after that? I've got a very positive impression on this. I hope that all the bureaucratic issues actually don't get in the way and the project comes to pass. We really hope this develops. And we hope that Roma as a team has its own stadium. In your career, you've obviously already achieved your targets. 2016, 2017, playing in the stadium, that must be a target for you. I don't know about a target, but it's a hope for me. Not necessarily for me, but for Roma fans. Because owning our own stadium is something which obviously involves everyone. So we really hope that we can achieve this, and we really hope that this great commitment can come to pass. What did Maicon say to you? Maicon said to me, no, you won't play in this stadium. It depends how we all are. We've spoken a lot about feelings over the course of today. Italo Zanzi's done that, and we really hope that Totti actually gets the ball rolling in 2016-17, if that indeed is the season. It will be an unforgettable moment for all AS Roma fans. We've obviously spoken to Francesco Totti, who was very struck and very emotional about all of the different scenes. Let's go and hear from Daniele De Rossi. Let's go and hear Daniele De Rossi's view straight after this wonderful presentation.
Daniele De Rossi, abbiamo visto da poco la futura nuova casa della Roma. Che ne pensi?
Yeah, it's an emotional time. It's a beautiful stadium. I've actually had the privilege to get a first look at this on a computer, but obviously it's not the same thing. We're all headed towards the future because we can't wait to play in this stadium. And we want to actually play and really honor this stadium, which is a huge part of Roma's history. So we actually want to win on the pitch, and we can't wait to get started. And a view as a Roman and as a Roma fan, how much of an impact can the Curva Sud have? Unlike any other fan base and unlike any other arena, they will obviously give us that little bit extra. Obviously, this is something which has already been said many times, but I'm absolutely certain of it. And this will be obviously added pride for Roma fans and for Romans. Obviously, we've seen the Juventus Stadium. We think it's great. I think all of this stadium will actually beat any competitors all over the place. in terms of how beautiful it is, in terms of the atmosphere there. I think it's going to be wonderful. So, with all due respect to the Juventus Stadium, yeah, it's a good stadium, but obviously it's within a country in which a number of stadiums are behind the times. I think Roma's stadium will be something else entirely. Now, Matteo is alongside Luca Parnasi. Let's try and actually figure out what role he's playing in this. What jersey have you got, Luca? No, the Giallorossi shirt. Obviously, as a businessman, this is an emotional time. It's a unique feeling. I'd like to thank Jim for everything he said, because the team that are in charge of Roma today are wonderful. They really are unique, and over the last 18 months, the work they've done internationally has been absolutely fantastic. I think this is a symbolic event which can really allow Roma to push off and have a boost going forward. I think this stadium will obviously be a driving force to really relaunch the economy in our city.
Poi c'è l'onore, no, di farlo da tifoso, ma anche il peso di doverlo realizzare, nel senso è impegnativo.
Guarda, mettere la doppia maglietta è veramente complicato per me, però devo dire che io sono romanista, nato romanista.
I'm a Roma fan, and I was born into a family of Lazio fans, so I'm actually going to really put everything into this, both as a fan and both as a businessman. I've won the battles in my family a long time ago. As from a business point of view,
il sindaco, abbiamo sentito gli assessori.
We've heard from the mayor, we've heard from the deputy mayors. There's a group obviously that really want to work to bring this to pass. I think the administration and the mayor said this many times, that they really have undertaken an approach in terms of transparency, and they really want this project to come to pass. This means that we as businessmen and all of the business class, we need to roll up our sleeves to make sure that Roma can be a capital in terms of investment, and we really can get the city going again. Once again, I think there really is determination to actually open a new chapter, to move on. I think you've spoken about how this will be a driving force for Rome going forward, not only for AS Roma but the city as a whole. I've really enjoyed the mayor's desire to get this done. I think the mayor really wants to actually change Roma as a city, and I think the stadium will be essential for us. As I've said, we just need to work with a lot of rigor, determination and transparency, and that's going to allow us to actually achieve all the targets we've set. And of course, you must feel very emotional in your heart. Listen, I was actually struggling to hold back the tears. This was a unique feeling for me. It was absolutely a dream come true as a fan and as a businessman, an entrepreneur. But obviously we mustn't waste time now. We need to try and get moving and really respect the time frame on this, and to actually give this wonderful stadium to all the fans and to everyone here. Thank you very much, Luca Parnasi. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Luca Parnasi. Thank you, Alessandro. Thank you. He's waiting for our colleagues to speak to him. Okay, fantastic. This obviously was a dream come true for Dan Meese. Imagine what it's like for Luca Parnasi. Let's see what it's like for Rudy Garcia, and then we'll finish up. We're alongside the coach, Rudy Garcia. The most important thing, obviously, for you is the pitch. That's something you said earlier on. Listen, the stadium is fantastic. What I like is the fact that we can actually, I'd like us to be able to see a Champions League final in this stadium. I think that's something which is very important. And I've said that it's on the pitch that we actually need to write a new chapter in Roma's history. This is a fantastic club, and we need to keep moving forward, and with this stadium it will be a lot easier to actually achieve our goals, which is to obviously win silverware. How important is it to have the fans close to the team? Oh, it's got a huge impact. It has a huge impact on the game itself. We've seen that with the stadium where Bayern Munich play, where I actually played with Lille, my last. We've also seen the wall that Borussia Dortmund have. I think it's fantastic, actually, that there's this reference to the Colosseum. And I think the Curva Sud is something unique, so it's great to actually have that as a part of it. Obviously, you'd like to win a trophy in this new stadium. Absolutely, yeah. The Americans have figured things out right from the outset. In order to have more opportunity, more chance to win trophies, we need to have high quality, high level infrastructure, and that will be the case with this new stadium. This was the view of Rudy Garcia, so this was a fantastic day. We had a really live, long broadcast, 26th of March 2014, a historic day for the history of AS Roma and the history of Rome. I'd like to finish then with these wonderful pictures behind me. Thank you very much, and good afternoon.